My wife secretly transferred $350, $0 into her sister's account last week, then sued me for half of our $700, $0 house. She's been planning this betrayal for months. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. Just a few weeks ago, I found out that my wife, Lisa, who I'd trusted with everything, was secretly transferring hundreds of thousands of dollars into her sister's account and then turning around to sue me for half of our house. Yeah, you heard that right. It sounds like some twisted soap opera, but this is real life. We'd been married for 8 years, and honestly, I thought we had a pretty good thing going. Sure, every relationship has its problems, but I never imagined Lisa would betray me like this. She's always been the kind of woman who acts like she's got everything under control, bossy, bitchy when she doesn't get her way, but I thought that was just her personality. I was blind to the fact that behind that tough exterior, she was plotting something much darker. At first, it was little things. She started being more secretive about her phone, hiding texts, deleting her browsing history. Brushed it off, thinking maybe she was just stressed at work or had some new friends she was hanging out with. But then, she started canceling plans last minute, claiming she had urgent meetings, or that she was too busy. The odd thing was, her mood became more irritable, more dismissive. She'd snap at me for no reason, call me paranoid when I asked about her sudden secrecy. One night, I was sitting on the couch scrolling through some emails I'd forgotten to check, and I noticed a strange transfer notification pop up on her phone. It was a wire transfer for $350, $0, more than I'd ever seen in our joint account. I froze. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I double-checked, and sure enough, it was her sister's account. I'd known since college. She was always a bit shady, but I never thought Lisa would be involved in something like this. I started digging. Over the next few days, I noticed more oddities. The bank statements didn't match what Lisa told me she was making at her job. She claimed she was earning a modest salary, but her credit card bills showed she was spending thousands each month on luxury items, jewelry, designer clothes. I even found receipts from expensive restaurants, hotels, things I never knew she'd been doing. It was like she was living a double life. The big shock came when I found out she filed a lawsuit against me, claiming I was trying to take half of our house, our only big asset, worth around $700, $0. That was the moment I realized she'd been planning this betrayal for months. She'd been secretly draining our savings, giving money to her sister, and then suddenly turning around to sue me for my share of the house, as if I'd been the one cheating or stealing. It was so out of left field, I didn't even know what to think. I confronted her that night. I asked her about the transfer, about her spending habits, about the lawsuit. Her face twisted into this bitchy smirk, and she lied through her teeth, saying she had no idea what I was talking about. She claimed I was just paranoid, that I was accusing her for no reason, that she loved me and wouldn't hurt me like that. But I could see right through her. She was lying, and her eyes gave her away. That moment hit me hard. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All the trust I'd had in her crumbled in seconds. I was furious, betrayed, and deeply hurt. How could the woman I loved and trusted do this to me? How could she lie so effortlessly about something so huge? I started to question everything, our marriage, our life together, whether I even knew who she really was. I know this is just the beginning, and I'm still trying to process everything. I'm angry, yes, but also sad. I never thought I'd be in this situation, especially not after all these years. But I'm starting to see that sometimes the person you love the most can turn out to be someone entirely different behind closed doors. And the worst part, I don't even know if she's done betraying me. After I confronted Lisa that night, everything changed. Her reaction was classic: denial, accusations, and that irritating smirk that made me want to punch her. She kept insisting she had no idea about the transfer, that it was all a big misunderstanding, that her sister must have done it without her knowledge. She said she was just trying to help her sister with some financial trouble, which was a complete lie. I knew her too well. She's always been manipulative, a master at spinning stories to cover her tracks, but I wasn't buying it. I'd seen enough now. The evidence was stacking up against her. I decided I needed to get to the bottom of this myself, so I started digging into her bank accounts, her emails, her texts. I found more surprises, messages from talking about how Lisa was planning to take everything and make sure he never sees a cent. I also found emails where Lisa was discussing the lawsuit, saying she was going to get her half and make him pay for what he's done. That's when I realized this was more than just a financial scheme. It was a full-blown betrayal. The emotional toll hit me hard. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. I couldn't believe the woman I married, the woman I trusted with my life, was secretly screwing over me and our marriage. I was furious but also heartbroken. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all this? How did she hide it so well? I was angry at her but also angry at myself for not seeing the signs earlier. I had always thought we had a good, stable life. Turns out it was just a facade. The worst part was the money. That $350, $0 transfer gone. I don't even know if she kept any of it or if it all went to her sister. And then there was the house. She filed that lawsuit claiming I was trying to take half of our shared property, which was worth about $700, $0. That was a brutal blow. I'd always thought of that house as our home, our investment, our future. Now she was trying to take it all from under me, probably to fund her schemes or her new life with. I started to think about my options. I didn't want to be a victim, but I also didn't want to go on fighting a woman who was clearly out to screw me over. I decided I needed legal advice. I found a lawyer and started to prepare for a fight. I also decided to secretly record her whenever I could, just in case I needed concrete proof. Later, I couldn't trust her anymore. I didn't even want to look at her the same way. Every time I saw her, I felt this mix of disgust and heartbreak. The more I learned, the more I realized how deep the deception went. She'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. She'd secretly transferred money, lied about her income, and now she was trying to take everything I had. It was like waking up from a nightmare. I kept asking myself, why? Why would she do this? Was I just a paycheck to her? Or was she always planning to leave me to take everything and run? I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let her get away with it. I had to fight for what was rightfully mine. But the emotional pain was overwhelming. Every time I looked at her, I saw a stranger, a woman who could lie and cheat so effortlessly. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and deeply hurt. How do you rebuild trust after something like this? How do you even begin to forgive someone who's been so dishonest? I've started to think about the future now. I don't want to be with someone who would do this, but I also don't want to destroy everything without a plan. I need to be smart to protect myself and my assets. I'm still trying to process the shock, the anger, the sadness. It's like I'm in this weird limbo, stuck between wanting revenge and just wanting to move on. And honestly, I don't know where this is going to end up. I just know I can't trust her anymore. I need to figure out how to get my life back, how to recover from this betrayal, and how to make sure she doesn't screw me over any further. The next step is legal action, but inside, I feel broken. This whole thing has shaken me to my core. After I started talking to lawyers and digging into her financial records more thoroughly, I realized just how deep her plans went. The transfer of $350, $0 to her sister wasn't a one-time thing. It was part of a pattern. I found emails and bank statements showing she'd been funneling money out of our joint account for months, always claiming it was for family emergencies or helping get back on her feet. But now I see. It was all part of her scheme to drain our savings and set herself up to leave me high and dry. The more I uncovered, the angrier I got. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I kept asking myself, how did I not see this? How did I miss the signs? It's like she was wearing a mask, pretending to be the perfect wife while secretly plotting to take everything I had. The fact that she'd even gone as far as to sue me for half of our house was the final straw. That house was our biggest asset, and she was trying to take it all while she was secretly screwing her sister and spending money like a king. I decided I needed to confront her again, but this time with my lawyer present. I told Lisa I knew about her schemes, that I had proof, and that I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Her reaction was priceless. She played the victim, crying about how I was accusing her for no reason, how she loved me, and how I was destroying our marriage over some stupid suspicions. It was all a act. I could see right through her tears and her fake concern. She was just trying to manipulate me into backing off. Inside, I was boiling. The betrayal was one thing, but seeing her lie so effortlessly made me realize I couldn't trust her anymore. I felt like I was living with a stranger, someone who could look me in the eye and lie without a second thought. I started to think about what I really wanted. Did I want to keep fighting for a marriage that was built on lies? Or was it time to cut my losses and walk away? The emotional toll was enormous. I kept waking up in the middle of the night, replaying everything. Her lies, her sneaky transfers, the lawsuit, the way she'd always been so bitchy if I questioned her about her spending. I felt humiliated, like I'd been played for a fool. And the worst part, I felt so angry at myself for trusting her in the first place. How could I have been so stupid? I'd always thought I knew her, but now I see I never really did. In the meantime, I kept gathering evidence. I hired a private investigator to follow her just to see if she was sneaking around with someone else. Turns out she was spending nights out with some guy from her office, another shocker. She'd been cheating on me for months, probably even longer. I found texts between them full of flirtatious messages, plans to meet up, even explicit talk about sex. That was the final confirmation I needed. She'd been lying, cheating, draining our money, and trying to take everything I had. Once I had all this proof, I knew I had to act fast. I filed for a legal separation, and I also started preparing for a divorce. I wanted to protect what little was left of my sanity and my assets. I also made sure to freeze her bank accounts, just in case she tried to hide any more money. I couldn't trust her with anything anymore. Every day I felt more betrayed, more broken, but I also knew I had to be strong. This was war, and I wasn't going down without a fight. Honestly, it's been a nightmare. I go back and forth between feeling rage, sadness, and just sheer disbelief. I keep asking myself if I could have done something differently, if I was blind or just stupid for trusting her so much. But I also realize I need to focus on moving forward. The pain is still fresh, but I'm starting to see a way out, a way to rebuild my life without her dragging me down. The thing that hurts the most is knowing she lied about everything, about her feelings, about her intentions, even about her love for me. And all the while, she was secretly planning to take everything I worked for. I don't think I'll ever fully understand why she did it, but I do know I'll never trust her again. That trust, once broken, is impossible to fix. I just want to get past this, to heal, and to figure out how to move on from the betrayal that shattered everything I believed in. By now, I was fully immersed in legal battles and trying to piece my life back together. The more I learned about Lisa's schemes, the more disgusted I became. She'd been so convincing, acting like the perfect wife, the loving partner, while behind my back she was secretly siphoning off our savings, spending lavishly, and plotting to steal the house I thought was our future. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. But now I had evidence, and I was determined to fight for what was rightfully mine. The court process was brutal. Lisa's lawyer was good, slick, manipulative, and relentless. She kept twisting everything I said, painting me as the villain trying to take her hard-earned money and home. But I had proof, and I made sure every email, every bank statement, every text message was documented. I also had the recordings of her talking about the money transfers, her plans to sue me, and her affair with that guy from her office. It was a mess, but I knew I had a case. One thing that hit me hard was learning about the affair. I found out through those texts I mentioned, flirty messages, explicit talk, plans to meet up. She'd been cheating on me for months, maybe longer. That was the final blow. All those nights she'd claimed she was working late, all those nights she'd disappeared, I now knew she was with him. It was like my whole world was crashing down. I felt so stupid for not seeing it earlier, for trusting her so blindly. Her reaction to all this was predictable. She played the victim, crying and begging, saying how she loved me, how I was overreacting, and that I was just jealous and paranoid. She even accused me of controlling her, of not trusting her, but I saw right through her lies. The evidence was overwhelming. She was the one controlling the money, the one sneaking around, and now she was trying to turn it around on me. I couldn't let her get away with it. I decided I had to make a clean break. I hired a divorce attorney and started the legal process. I also took steps to secure my assets, freezing her bank accounts, changing passwords, and making sure she wouldn't be able to drain anything else. I wanted to cut her out completely. I knew she was still trying to manipulate the situation, but I was done trusting her. I couldn't risk her stealing even more or lying her way out of everything. Emotionally, some days I felt numb, like I was just going through the motions. Other days I'd get angry, furious that she could do this to me. I kept replaying everything: the lies, the betrayal, her cheating, her schemes. It was like a sick puzzle I couldn't put together. I also felt a deep sadness, knowing that the woman I loved had turned into someone so cold and calculating. It's hard to accept that the person you married, the person you thought you knew, was capable of this level of deception. In the midst of all this chaos, I also started to think about what I really want. Do I want to stay and fight for the marriage? Honestly, part of me still hoped maybe we could work things out, but after everything I'd uncovered, I knew that trust was gone. How could I rebuild what was shattered? And even if I did, could I ever really believe her again? The truth was, I didn't see a future with her anymore, not as my wife. The hardest part now is accepting the reality that my life is changing forever. I'm trying to focus on myself, on healing, on moving forward. The betrayal runs so deep that I don't think I'll ever be the same, but I'm also starting to see that I have to be strong for my own sake. I've learned a lot from this experience, about trust, about deception, about money, and about myself. I know I'll never let someone manipulate me like this again. Looking back, I wish I had caught her sooner, but I also know I can't dwell on that. The only thing I can do now is focus on rebuilding my life, protecting what's left, and moving on. I want to find happiness again, even if it means starting over. I just hope others out there can learn from my story, trust your instincts, watch out for the signs, and don't ignore the small things. Because if I had done that, maybe I wouldn't be where I am now, broken, betrayed, but still standing. The legal proceedings dragged on for months. Every court date, every meeting with my lawyer, it felt like I was fighting not just for my assets, but for my sanity. Lisa's lawyer played dirty, twisting facts, trying to paint me as some controlling husband trying to keep her down. But I had the evidence, proof of her secret transfers, her affair, her lies, and I made sure it all came out. I wanted her to see that I wasn't backing down, that I had the truth on my side. Meanwhile, Lisa's attitude shifted. She started becoming more aggressive, more bitchy, probably realizing her plans were unraveling. She'd lash out, accuse me of everything, saying I was paranoid, that I was just jealous, that I was trying to ruin her life. But I knew better. I had the proof. I saw her desperation, and honestly, it made me feel a little better knowing she was finally cracking under the pressure. One day, I caught her in a lie that was so blatant I almost laughed. She was trying to claim she'd had nothing to do with the money transfer, that must have done it on her own. I showed her the email where she'd explicitly discussed the transfer and her plan to hide the money. Her face turned pale and she started stammering. That was the moment I knew I'd won, at least in court. Her lies were falling apart piece by piece. The day of the final hearing was nerve-wracking. I sat there, feeling a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The judge listened to both sides, reviewed my evidence, and finally made a ruling. The court ordered Lisa to return the money she transferred, to pay me my share of the house, and to cease any further legal actions against me. It wasn't a perfect victory. She was still trying to fight me every step of the way, but it was enough to give me some closure. That night, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I'd fought hard, and I'd won most of what I was after, but inside I was shattered. The woman I thought I knew was gone. I'd been betrayed so deeply that I wasn't sure I'd ever fully recover from this. Still, I was proud of myself for standing my ground, for not giving in to the despair. In the aftermath, I started focusing on rebuilding. I found a new place to live, away from the toxic environment she'd created. I cut off all contact with her, no more texts, no more calls. I knew I had to move on, even if part of me still felt the sting of betrayal. I also sought therapy, something I'd never done before, and it helped me process all the pain and anger I'd been holding inside. Looking back, I realize how much I've learned from this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and sometimes people hide who they really are behind a mask. I've learned too. Be more cautious, more aware of the signs that someone might be lying or manipulating. And I've learned that sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to fight back, even when it feels like the odds are against you. I wish I could say I've fully moved past this, but honestly, I still have moments of anger and sadness. It's a process, but I'm slowly rebuilding my life piece by piece. The most important thing I've realized is that I deserve honesty, respect, and loyalty, and I won't settle for anything less anymore. If there's one thing I'd tell anyone reading this, it's this. Don't ignore the small signs of trouble. Money, secretive behavior, lies, they all add up. When you see red flags, don't brush them aside. Because if I'd caught her earlier, maybe I wouldn't be here now, telling this story. But better late than never. Trust your gut and don't let someone betray you without consequences. That's what I've learned from the worst betrayal of my life. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this experience changed me. I used to believe in the idea that marriage was built on trust and honesty, but I've learned the hard way that people can hide their true intentions behind a pretty face and a lie. Lisa's betrayal shattered my illusions, and honestly, it's taken a long time to come to terms with it. But I also see this as a wake-up call. It's made me stronger, more cautious, and more aware of what I will and won't accept from someone I love. One thing I've come to understand is that money can be a powerful motivator for deception. Lisa's secret transfers, her lies about her income, her manipulative lawsuits, they all stemmed from her greed and desperation. She thought she could get away with it because she was so good at lying. But in the end, the truth always comes out. And when it does, it leaves behind a trail of broken trust and shattered lives. I've learned to value honesty above everything else. I've also learned that sometimes walking away is the best choice, even if it's painful. Holding on to anger and resentment only keeps you stuck in the past. Forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the bitterness that can eat you alive. I've started to forgive myself for trusting her, and I've started to forgive her for what she did. Not because what she did was okay, but because I refuse to carry that much anger anymore. Most importantly, I've realized I need to focus on myself now. I've started rebuilding my life, finding new hobbies, reconnecting with friends, and working on my mental health. I want to prove to myself that I can be happy again, even after such a devastating betrayal. I want to be smarter about who I trust, and I want to remind anyone reading this that no one is immune to deception. Stay vigilant, protect your assets, and don't ignore the warning signs, because once trust is broken, it's incredibly hard to repair. So my final thought is this. If you're in a situation like mine, don't be afraid to fight for yourself. It's okay to feel broken, angry, or lost, but remember that you are stronger than you think. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is walking away from someone who no longer values you. And no matter how painful it is, there's always a chance to heal and move forward. Trust, honesty, and respect are worth more than any house, any money, or any material thing. Learn from my story. Don't let betrayal define you. Instead, use it as a lesson to protect your heart and your future.